She offered him $10,000 to take her back to town. He offered her rice and silence instead. Victoria Liang, daughter of international hotel magnate Liang Yuxiang, was used to private jets, presidential suites, and boardrooms where she spoke, and men twice her age listened. Educated in Switzerland, raised in Hong Kong, and living in Manhattan, she was elegance wrapped in armor, and she wore that armor well. Her jet was supposed to land in San Francisco, but the mountain storm had other plans. Stranded in a remote logging town in Oregon due to a snowstorm diverting her flight, she stood furious at a rundown regional airstrip, her Louis Vuitton suitcase slumped beside her like a defeated soldier. No signal, no power, and no one cared that she was Victoria Liang. She stormed into the nearest diner, shivering in her wool coat, demanding a driver. The locals stared. One of them, a tall man in a canvas jacket, beard speckled with snow, didn't. He didn't even look up. "I need a car and someone competent to drive it," she snapped at the group. "I'll pay generously." "Roads shut down," the waitress said calmly. "We're all stuck here." "I'm not we," Victoria replied. That's when the man stood up, quietly, slowly, and said, "There's a cabin a few miles off the road. You won't make it to town, but you can make it there." She narrowed her eyes. "Who are you?" He just replied, "Jack." She frowned. "How much?" He looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Don't worry about it." The wind howled as Jack's old pickup truck rattled along a snow-covered logging road. Victoria clutched her bag tightly, glaring at the fogged-up window like it had betrayed her. "Is this even legal?" she muttered. Jack didn't answer. He hadn't said much since leaving the diner. Just pointed to the truck and nodded. No small talk. No interest in her name. No recognition. It unsettled her. The cabin appeared like a ghost from the snow. Dark wood, sloped roof, a plume of smoke curling from the chimney. It wasn't a shack, but it wasn't exactly a hotel either. Inside it was warm but sparse. A small fireplace, books stacked unevenly, no television, no Wi-Fi, no mirrors. "Where's the bathroom?" she asked. Jack pointed outside. "Outhouse, left path." She stared at him. "You're joking." He wasn't. She lit into him. "I am stranded here against my will. I have meetings, clients, partners. Do you understand who I am?" He shrugged off his coat. "You're cold and wet, that's what I understand. I can pay you." "I'm not asking." He walked into another room and returned with a steaming bowl of white rice and salted fish. He placed it on the table. "Eat, then sleep." Victoria looked down at the simple meal. Familiar somehow. Her grandmother used to make fish like this when she was small. Before the wealth, before the city. She picked up the bowl and ate silently. Jack said nothing. Just threw another log on the fire. By morning, the storm had thickened. Snow covered the truck. The wind carved through the trees like knives. Victoria woke up on a lumpy cot layered in flannel, the smell of smoke and pine clinging to her clothes. She emerged into the main room, hair tied up, wearing her designer cashmere leggings and a disgusted expression. Jack was already up, boiling water on the wood stove, shirt sleeves rolled, forearms dusted with flour. "You bake?" she asked, more accusation than curiosity. He didn't look up. "Biscuits, not croissants, you'll survive." She crossed her arms. "Look, I don't know what your deal is, but I have a car waiting in Ashland. I need to get back. There's a merger closing in 72 hours that's worth more than this mountain." Still no reaction. "I could buy this cabin 10 times over. I could hire you to drive me down and still tip you a year's salary." Jack finally turned, met her eyes. Calm, steady. "You really think money works here?" She blinked, caught off guard. "In this place," he continued, "it's heat, food, and patience that matter." She opened her mouth, closed it, then scoffed and sat down. "You always this condescending to women?" "No," he said, setting down a tin of honey. "Just to people who think they're owed more than the rest of us." Victoria bit her tongue. No one ever spoke to her like that, not in New York, not in Hong Kong, certainly not in a snow-covered cabin with no plumbing. She hated him. She hated that he was right. And somewhere, buried under all that resentment, she felt something else she couldn't name. By the third day, the storm still hadn't let up. Victoria stood outside in the cold, teeth chattering. Trying to light the fire, Jack told her to keep going while he went to check on a neighbor's power line. She fumbled with the matches, hands stiff, every spark dying before it caught. She growled in frustration, staring at the wood like it had betrayed her too. When Jack returned hours later, soaked and silent, he found her curled up in a blanket, shivering beside a cold stove. She expected a lecture. Instead, he crouched and wordlessly rebuilt the fire. One hand placed the kindling just so. The other struck a match cleanly, held it steady, waited. The fire bloomed slowly, calmly. "You packed the wood too tight," he said without looking at her. "Fire needs air to breathe." Victoria didn't respond. She just watched the flames catch and dance. Later that night, she helped him cook. Just onions and eggs in a pan, but it felt like a ritual. The silence between them wasn't sharp anymore. It was warm, intentional. Jack poured tea into 2 chipped mugs. Victoria held hers with both hands, the steam fogging her glasses. "Why do you live out here?" she asked quietly. He didn't answer right away, just looked out the window. "Because out here," he said finally, "I can hear myself think, and nobody expects me to be anything else." She nodded slowly. She understood more than she wanted to admit. And for the first time in years, she didn't want to leave. The storm had finally eased, but Victoria stayed. Days blurred into a rhythm, chopping vegetables, collecting firewood, boiling water, sharing silence. She stopped checking her phone. It hadn't worked in days anyway. One evening, after washing the dishes with freezing water and stiff hands, she began humming absently. Something soft, a lullaby her popo used to sing when Victoria was small and sick and scared of thunder. She didn't notice Jack had gone still behind her. His voice was rough when he spoke. "Where did you learn that?" She turned. "My grandmother, why?" He stepped closer, slowly. "My mom used to hum that, almost the same. Mandarin lyrics." Victoria nodded, the knot in her throat tightening. "Yeah, she used to sing it before bed, said it chased away bad dreams." Jack lowered his eyes. "My mom passed away in a storm. Just like this one. Same mountain. I was supposed to be here with her. I was late. I always thought, if I'd come sooner." The silence that followed was no longer awkward. It was sacred. Victoria placed a hand gently over his. Not with pity, with recognition. She didn't say sorry. She didn't have to. Jack looked at her, like really looked into the parts of her she didn't let anyone see. The lonely ones, the ones too tired to pretend. And in that moment, something passed between them. Something that had nothing to do with names or money or the world outside that cabin. The air in the cabin had changed. It wasn't just warmth from the fire anymore, it was charged, heavy. Every glance lingered a little longer. Every brush of hands felt deliberate. Victoria found herself laughing more, softer. Jack listened more, deeper. That night they sat by the fireplace, a storm still whispering beyond the windows but no longer threatening. Victoria wore one of Jack's flannels over her silk camisole, sleeves rolled up, mug of tea in hand. She told him about the life she never chose, the expectations, the image she had to uphold, the way no one ever let her fail. "I built walls so high," she said, voice low. "I don't even know who I'm keeping out anymore." Jack didn't try to fix it, he didn't offer advice. He just looked at her like she was already enough. And then, without a plan, without permission, the space between them disappeared. He kissed her. Slow, surprised, real. Her hand found his chest. His fingers curled around the back of her neck. For a breathless moment, the world shrank to warmth and skin and honesty. But then Jack pulled away. His voice was quiet, cracked. "You're not staying." She blinked. "What?" "You'll leave. When the road's clear, you'll go back. This isn't your life." She shook her head. "You don't know that." "I do." He stood. "You don't belong in a place like this." "What if I want to?" He looked at her then, with all the sorrow and restraint he'd buried since the day they met. "Wanting," he said, "isn't the same as staying." And he walked away, leaving her by the fire, heart pounding, breath stolen, and no idea what to do next. The road reopened 2 days later. Victoria stood at the edge of the cabin's clearing, suitcase in hand, the one she hadn't touched in over a week. The same driver who had once taken her from the airport now waited awkwardly beside the idling black SUV. Jack didn't say goodbye. He was inside, stacking books like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't spilled pieces of her soul onto his floor. Like he hadn't kissed her like it meant everything. She wanted to scream or stay or both. Instead, she walked away. The SUV pulled onto the mountain road, snow retreating in patches under the spring sun. Trees passed in a blur. Cell signal returned. Messages flooded in. Investors, assistants, her father. By the time she reached the penthouse in San Francisco, the world had swallowed her again. Polished marble, staff waiting, a fresh designer wardrobe laid out like armor. She stared at it all and felt nothing. The meetings resumed. The deal closed. She smiled at flashbulbs and clinked champagne glasses with men in suits who called her brilliant, but never asked how she was sleeping. At night, she lit the fireplace. It crackled too cleanly, no smoke, no scent of pine. She tried calling Jack once. The number she had from the diner led nowhere. She started waking up early, walking barefoot to the balcony, holding her tea close, humming lullabies no one in the city recognized. She didn't cry. But something had been taken from her in that cabin, and something had been left behind. And for the first time in her perfectly curated, precision-built life, Victoria Liang felt hollow. Spring turned to summer. Victoria canceled a board meeting in Shanghai, rescheduled 3 interviews, and told her father she needed space. Then she packed a single backpack, no assistants, no heels, no schedule, and booked a one-way ticket. The same diner was still there, the same waitress. But this time Victoria didn't draw attention. No makeup, no attitude, just a quiet woman with a purpose. She hiked the last mile to the cabin alone. The snow was gone, replaced by wildflowers and damp earth. Her boots were muddy. Her heart beat louder with every step. The cabin looked smaller now, older but not forgotten. She knocked once. No answer. Twice. Still nothing. She pulled out a folded note. One line. I should have stayed the first time, but I'm here now. She placed it on the door, turned to leave, and froze. The door creaked open. Jack stood there, same eyes, same quiet. But something in his face broke when he saw her, like he hadn't realized he was holding his breath until that moment. Neither of them spoke. She stepped forward slowly. He didn't move. I didn't belong here, she said softly, but I didn't belong anywhere else either. He looked at her, long and deep, then stepped aside. Fire's already going, he said. Victoria walked in. The door closed behind her. And for the first time in a long time, the silence between them wasn't empty. It was home.